when we have a moral and belief that aligns with Scripture, the most loving thing we can do is to stay true to that and to speak truth in love.
Today we're going to be answering a question from a member in our congregation, and their question was, how do you stick to your morals and beliefs in a loving way without being judgmental, which starts to get into just the opposition we face as Christians in this world for all kinds of topics like marriage and gender and sexuality and politics and social justice issues and just all of the things that are going on. So just kind of to jump into the question, what are some of your thoughts about sticking to our morals and beliefs as believers?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's like you mentioned, there's a ton of things coming after all of us. And I think when I hear that question, the first thing that came to my mind is it's the most loving thing to do to stick to your morals and beliefs in that moment. What we don't want to be and what we sometimes are, even unintentionally, are hypocrites. And we need to work on that. I need to work on that. And so when we have a moral and belief that aligns with Scripture, the most loving thing we can do is to stay true to that and to speak truth in love. And I know that's more of where we'll speak to, but to comply or to adjust your beliefs just so that you're accepted or so somebody might not run away from the faith, they're going to have to face that truth eventually. And so I think the most loving thing to do is to listen. I always preface with hearing the other side as much as you can. And then responding with, well, here's what I believe, and I believe it because of this in the Bible, and that's where I hold my foundation is in the Word.
I think that's a really good point you bring up, because I know I often feel, and I think a lot of us probably in a situation like that where maybe you're starting to talk about one of those topics, or maybe it's like you're talking about life and someone's pro-choice and you're like, well, I just want to make them feel comfortable and I don't want it to get awkward or like loving them feels like that. But like you were saying, the most loving thing we can do is standing for truth, going a little bit deeper into how to do that or what that looks like if you're in a situation like that, how to do that in a loving way, speaking the truth in love.
I think listening is so important. I think if we start with a listening ear before we speak, Proverbs says, be slow to speak and quick to listen, I think is a great place to start. But I want to turn to Ephesians 4:15. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will in all things grow up into him who is head, that is Christ. And so we're commanded to speak truth in love. And I think Ephesians, the entire chapter, is a great place to figure out how to do this well. And the intention of speaking truth in love is not to reprimand, to correct. It's so that we can grow. And that's what we want to do as believers, to grow people in their faith or grow people in their knowledge of Christ. And so if it starts with listening and hearing where their heart's at, or maybe experiences that they've had personally, and being to approach those questions and their concerns in love, not in a way to condemn them or to say that they're wrong, but to say, hey, I have this truth and I want you to know it because this truth has changed my life because I've had a similar experience or I've messed up in this way, and this truth and the grace that comes with it is what I hold on to.
That's so true. A couple of years ago, I was in a conversation during an outreach event at school, and I was talking to two girls who both identified as bisexual. One was a lesbian, one was bisexual, and they were telling me, I had a conversation with them, was able to share the gospel with them, and they were saying that 95% of the Christians that they met were really rude and hurtful towards them, but I was one of the first that they met that actually cared. And so I was still able to share the truth about Scripture, and that is not what we believe about sexuality, and as Christians, that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that we are born as either male or female. But being able to still show them and reflect the love of Christ I had never encountered that before, and so that was it was saddening to hear that they had met so many that were that way, because that's not how we're called to be at all as Christians.
I think that's so good, and that's an encouraging story to hear. I think the other verse I want to point to is 1 Corinthians 13:6, which says, "Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth." And so I think love and truth go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And so if we think of truth as more of a way to open the eyes of things that we need to see ourselves, or maybe something that somebody else needs to see, and that it points them to growing and more understanding, that light is what we need to bring everything to the light, and that's where truth is found, is in the light. So
Yeah, that's so true. That's so good. Would you have any last words or kind of words to say to wrap up?
Again, I think a lot of what we hear is people answer or try to speak truth without listening, or without giving the benefit of the doubt. There's been some hard experiences that people have gone through, which is why they're where they're at. And I just think if we are grounded in the Word and grounded in truth, it's not truth to condemn, it's truth to guide to who Jesus says he is, and he is love. And so it's hard to separate them both.
And you can't. And so doing that is showing them that this is what love is.
Yeah.
Is truth that points to the Lord. Well, because he is love.
He is love, right? Yep. That's awesome.
Thank you so much for sharing.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Great. Yeah.